Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's true, we're gonna be looking into hustle culture today. I actually got this video idea from somebody on stream a few weeks back. They had asked if I'd do a video on LinkedIn, and I actually have done a video on that before, but it's very old and it's a bit dated, so I thought this is the perfect opportunity to not just look into LinkedIn again, but also hustle culture as a whole, or I guess you could also call it the rise and grind community. Before we start today's video though, I did want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, which is HelloFresh. If you've never heard of them before, HelloFresh is actually America's #1 favorite meal kit, and they just make cooking at home a lot more fun, easy, and affordable. You don't have to worry about grocery shopping or meal planning because everything you need to make your meals is delivered straight to your door. They offer a ton of great recipes to choose from, as well as options like low carb, carb smart, pescatarian, or vegetarian. But what's really great is that regardless of which option you choose, all of the produce comes fresh and directly from farmers. It's great for saving time too, because you can actually get dinner on the table in just about 30 minutes, or if you're using their quick and easy options, you can do it in 20. But what's also really nice is that since all the ingredients are pre-portioned, there isn't just less prep, but there's also less food waste because they give you the exact amount of the ingredients you need to make the dish. And HelloFresh's carbon footprint is actually 25% lower than meals made from store-bought groceries. They're also really flexible, so if you want to switch delivery days or your food preferences, or you want to cancel a week, all you have to do is go to their website and it's a super easy switch. I've actually been cooking the meals with my mom and it's been a really great way to try new things. And what's also really great is that we can just stack up all the recipe cards and go back and remake them later. But I think the biggest plus has been that not having to think about what we're making for dinner has made it a lot easier to not resort to food delivery apps that honestly, we're obliterating my wallet. So if you want to check it out for yourself, go to hellofresh.com and use code caseyaonso14 to get 14 free meals, including free shipping. That's code caseyaonso14 at hellofresh.com for 14 free meals, including free shipping. Thanks again to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's get into it. So what exactly is hustle culture? Like, what does it mean to be a hustler in 2021? According to my favorite point of reference, Urban Dictionary, it's the glorification of working very long hours in hopes of reaching one's professional goals while having a disregard for their health and relationships with loved ones. And I think that hustle culture really goes hand in hand with terms like girl boss, or I guess the male equivalent would be boy boss, because they're usually the active participants that participate or actively encourage the hustle culture community. And like a lot of different communities, the internet has really helped hustle culture not just grow, but thrive. It's everywhere online. Maybe you've seen it on Twitter through those accounts that are dedicated to tweeting out inspirational quotes, or maybe on Instagram and Facebook you've seen those inspirational videos. But I think that the mecca for hustle culture is definitely LinkedIn. We will eventually be diving into that platform a bit more, but for the meantime, I want to kind of look into how hustle culture has really been taking advantage of the current P word that we're living in. One of the first points that I realized that hustle culture was trying to take advantage of the current state of the world we're living in right now was when a lot of people were talking about getting their stimulus checks and a discussion started on how people would be spending theirs. And it turned out that a few Bezos bros, I guess, decided that they were going to get up on their soapbox and claim that if you were really smart with your money, you were actually not going to pay for necessities like rent or groceries, and instead sink all of that money into a business idea that would pay off more in the long run. Even though right now almost every business sector is not doing well right now, except for like Purell. And don't get me wrong here. I totally understand that at the end of the day, if you whittle down hustle culture to its bare bones, there are good-ish intentions in the sense that a lot of people just want to inspire others to, instead of working for other people, work for themselves. Which in theory is good and great, but the community itself is incredibly warped and toxic, and could probably be better summarized as just a gigantic circle jerk where everyone's trying to prove that they work harder and longer than the other people. Or they spend the rest of their time shaming people who don't believe in hustle culture. And usually these people will end up idolizing extremely rare situations involving billionaires, and in their head will think, the only thing stopping me from being them is working hard enough, which could not be further from the truth. There are so many other factors you can't control that contribute to the fact that there's only a few billionaires and then the rest of us. But that isn't the kind of message that you can sell to people. These hustle culture accounts would not be getting nearly the attention and engagement they get right now if the message they were sending to people was, work as hard as you can, and even then you might not get what you want because of factors completely outside of your control, because that's not what people want to hear. Especially people that have created their personality around how much they work. And I don't really mean that as a dig as much as just genuine concern that there are so many people that have such a shitty work-to-life balance and just do not see value in themselves unless they're working. And I think one of the easiest ways that you can prove how toxic hustle culture is would be by showing how similar it is to MLM culture. One of the first excuses that people use when their fellow MLM babes are complaining that they aren't selling as much as the people told them they would be when they joined is that they simply aren't working hard enough. Which doesn't make sense because the system only works when it's failing most of the people who are joining it. And in general, there's just such a huge intersection between hustle culture content and the figures within it and MLMs. Look at Rachel Hollis, for example. She had her whole shtick of being a businesswoman who was independent and she wanted to show other women how they could do it too, and then she eventually started speaking at MLM conferences. And that progression makes total sense because there are so many similarities between hustle culture and MLMs. Be your own boss. Start your own business. The only thing stopping you from becoming successful is working hard enough. Speaking of Rachel Hollis, by the way, there is such a good video by a YouTuber called Cruel World Happy Mind that I cannot recommend enough. If you're interested in learning more about her downfall, it was such a good video, I'll link it down below. But another motivational speaker I can think of, who I wouldn't really equate him to Rachel Hollis, I think their situations are very different, but I would say he's probably the most popular motivational speaker right now, is a man named Gary Vee. And if you don't recognize his name, you definitely have seen him at least on Instagram or Facebook.
Every time I think about getting to like 25, and I'm like, man, I've really been here like...
Bro, I'd rip both my legs off and arms to be 25. On some real shit. I'd give up everything I have to be 25, just to play again.
All of your limbs? Just like that? Nobody asked him to do that, and that was the first thing that came out of his mouth. You know what? While you're at it, just chop my head off, okay? Off with my head. I don't need it anymore. I'll store my brain in my ass. No head, just rising and grinding, okay? Beyond the surface level of the community, I've recently come across a video that has cemented, at least for me, that we're living in a very dystopian era of hustle culture, and it involves the 10-year-old girl boss. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this video recently went viral involving a 10-year-old girl giving a TED Talk about work.
I can't wait to work. I can't wait to really work, to have a job, to have responsibility, to be treated like an adult. You know, I'm happy when I work. I'm happiest when I'm busy, and I'm most fulfilled when I'm contributing.
I will say that while I was going through the comments responding to this video, that I agreed with a lot of people that thought that a lot of what she was talking about was clearly either taught by her parents or she was told to say that. And of course that's the case because how else would a 10-year-old know what to talk about for a TED Talk about work? And of course that's not her fault. She's a 10-year-old child. How would she know what to talk about when it comes to the workforce unless somebody who's been in the workforce told her? Her presenting skills and confidence, though, are insane. Like, if you had told me to do that at 10 years old, I, in full honesty, probably would have shit my pants on the spot. Like, she did an amazing job, but also at the same time, I feel like it was kind of inappropriate to put her in this situation. And on top of that, I don't really even understand the relevancy of having a 10-year-old talk to a bunch of grown adults in the workforce about working when she's never been in it before. That would be the same thing as me walking into a room full of doctors and talking about lung transplants after watching an episode of Grey's Anatomy or Attaway General. And if anything, watching her really reminded me of that time in my life as a kid where I wanted a job so badly, and then once I got the job, I realized how ridiculous it was that I spent my childhood wishing that I was working when I'm going to spend the rest of my life working. And I guess what just really freaks me out about this is that I feel like online hustle culture almost has the ability to accelerate when kids start to want to feel like they need to work or are only valuable when they work, and it's almost kind of building this army of toddler bosses, which is really scary to think that there might be young children who already, before even being in the workforce, only see value in themselves when they're working. But I think that if we're looking at online hustle culture as a whole, the most toxic area by far, at least in my opinion, and if we're forgetting that MLMs don't exist, would definitely be LinkedIn, which is quite literally the armpit of the internet. Whenever people talk about how they want to make Instagram casual again and how they feel like Facebook's terrible and Twitter's toxic, I always can't believe how little discussion there is in comparison about how much of a nightmare LinkedIn is. The platform at this point has been around for over a decade, and I still don't understand why people actively use it. Every time I go on that app, I immediately regret it. The newsfeed on there alone is like a sea of status updates you could just tell people were writing while they had a meter-long stick up their ass. Why would I want to participate in that? Everybody just sounds so rigid and robotic, and like they have a gun pointed to their head. It kind of reminds me of the SpongeBob movie when everybody was under Plankton's mind control, but obviously instead of hailing Plankton, they're hailing Gary Vee. Like, who even made that the expectation for this platform? Everyone sounds like they're addressing the nation over the dumbest shit. What I will say about LinkedIn, though, is that even though it's definitely the stiffest social media platform out of the rest that are available, I don't think there's any platform that's completely immune to kookiness. And LinkedIn's kookiness is just extra special. Like, I'm talking putting up a photo of yourself post-birth with your husband in between your legs special. I want to say thank you to the awesome people helping Blank and I during the birth of our second daughter. You all have been gracious and have stepped up to the plate. Also a special shout out to our team, who work as hard as any team I've seen as we continue to grow. Find a career with people you enjoy working with. Find a team of people you can trust. Find a company where you can unapologetically be yourself and win. I just don't understand how this platform can be so overwhelmingly stiff, but then when there is a post that involves a little bit of personality, a little bit of looseness, it's something like this. Like, by unapologetically be yourself, are you saying unapologetically have a baby? What did you think they were gonna do? Tell you to abort it? Thank you to my job and colleagues for allowing me to have this special day off to give birth. There's also just something so ominous about this photo, especially when you realize that that man is not sitting in a chair, which is what I initially thought, but he's just squatting there. There's also this subgenre of content, which I guess you could call it competitive content, where it's basically just people bragging or competing with each other about how much more they work. Caution. Sales is addictive. I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning dreaming about closing a deal. First thought, I need to fucking sell something or I'm gonna go mad. For all of you salespeople who follow me because you think I'm a LinkedIn influencer or whatever, let me be very clear about one thing. I dream of the day I get to go head to head against you all on a deal again. Literally dream about it. And after a convo with our VP product last night, my dreams may be coming true sooner than I thought. I've had enough of blank CEO. I'm ready for blank AE again. See you out there soon. I'm concerned, but also 90% sure that he's the man behind this tweet. I'm just picturing this guy jolting awake in the middle of the night, frothing at the mouth, chomping at the bit for a sale, and instead he has to resort to grabbing a photo of Louis Tomlinson from under his bed and chewing it until the urge subsides. Also a missed opportunity on calling yourself a LinkedIn influencer. But obviously alarming that LinkedIn influencer is a term used in the first place. Rob says, does anyone else wish bank holidays were working days? I like my work so much that I always feel a bit robbed of a day. Am I on my own? Rob? Yes. I believe that Fridays are extremely underrated, specifically after 3 p.m. The way I see it, my competition is already starting to think about the weekend. My prospects are winding down after a long week of work and meetings. Everyone's starting to take it easy and browse internet and social media. The phones are hotter than ever. The phones are what? Why is it always salespeople? The phones. They're hotter than ever. Almost too hot to touch. I'll have to channel my inner 3 p.m. math salesman to handle this one. Another popular style of post that pops up all the time on LinkedIn is where people will essentially shame others for spending money on things that won't bring them in money. A good example is this post by Jonathan where he says, start a business, £999, too much. Buy a new iPhone, £999, no problem. And then he just goes through more examples and then says, life is about perspective. There's never a lack of opportunity to seize the day. Obviously, I get what he's trying to say here, but the one thing I really hate about these kind of comparisons is that they always have no context, and they'll compare things like a weekly trip to the grocery store to going out for dinner and drinks maybe the odd time. It just kind of reminds me of when people started saying, if you stop buying Starbucks so much, you'd be a millionaire. These people are just bending over backwards to say the exact same message that's been said a million times before, but they just keep saying it because the people on LinkedIn eat it up. I think when it comes to the weirdest content you can find on LinkedIn though, like I'm talking weirder than the pregnancy thing from earlier, it's gotta be those posts and just the trend in general where people just seem to be chomping at the bit to humiliate their toddlers. Yesterday, my 3-year-old kid came running to me saying, Daddy, I need to go to the bathroom. But it was too late. Yes, he was holding himself and his pants were all wet. Now let me ask you, are you a manufacturer, wholesaler, or distributor and simply haven't gotten around to insuring your accounts receivables yet? Don't wait until it's too late. Reach to me today to discuss insuring your accounts receivables. Like, was this necessary? Did you have to tell the entire internet that your kid pissed his pants to get this message across? Hashtag protect your business. Protect your son. Go change his diaper, you jerk. This morning, my 5-year-old came into my room in tears. "Daddy, I spilled my oatmeal and it's everywhere." I gave him a big hug and told him not to worry about it. "Accidents happen, sweet pea. Just go clean it up and it'll be fine." He was still upset when I came downstairs a few minutes later, so I asked both boys to come into the kitchen. I gave them a sly smile as okay, this is written like fan fiction. The rest of it's just a long-winded way of saying that he poured milk on the ground and showed that everyone makes mistakes, and then just put those spaces that they always put in their posts, which are so aggravating for absolutely no reason. Which again, I do think there is an easier way to get this message across instead of like pouring milk all over the ground, but I also don't believe this story's real, so who cares? What I've always loved about LinkedIn though is that the platform will quite literally give their users an inch, and they'll somehow find a way to use that to be even more obnoxious. Take these little titles you can put under your name, for example. "Pray I won't become your competitor's marketing weapon." Or what, Alessandro? Or what? Or we have Charlotte's, which for some reason says, "Want to have a new asshole ripped in your business for it to come out biggest, stronger, and better than ever? I'm yours." By asshole, does she mean that she's ripping my asshole, or my business has a hypothetical asshole? Either way, I think that she's offering us a business BBL. That's what I'm taking away from this. Victor, on the other hand, is a self-proclaimed Bitcoin king, which is a very big red flag. Are you broke because you don't have your stimulus check? I can lend you. There's so much to unpack in this photo. Like, why? At its very core level, why? Because you know that he's not going to actually give you money. It's going to be some sort of scheme where you're just going to end up losing money. But why post this? It's like he's staring into my soul. I know so many people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but this photo is projecting Chuck Bass energy. Hard. The most unhinged that LinkedIn will get, though, is when people will put up personal stuff, but they won't even try to, like, loosely connect it to something business related to justify it being on LinkedIn, which I find very camp. Yes, I'm 42 years old. No, my children are not with me right now, and I might pretend I did this for them, but shrug emoji. Yes, I just told Mr. Chill I love him. Yes, I meant it. No, I'm not drunk. Yes, I'm single, and quite the catch. If you look past the building a snowman on your own at 42 and talking to it while sober kind of thing, form an orderly queue, gents. Although Mr. Chill does have a place in my heart, so maybe give it a day or two till happens. Yay for today, and yay for everything, and yay for me, and yay for you. 2020 came good. Bloody knew it would. I think that we've just completed the 4 horsemen of the quirky apocalypse. And she's also not telling me she's gonna rip my asshole, which is a plus. Even though there are posts like that come out of the woodwork on LinkedIn, I do feel like overall it's a pretty stiff platform, or I guess maybe just very professional. And I remember when I first joined LinkedIn, I thought it would be the only platform exempt from like engagement or like farming, which could not be further from the truth. There are so many examples of like farming on there. I'm talking caretakers posting photos of their patients, to people posting photos of war veterans holding up signs. Like, what in the world are you doing? Leave your grandpa alone. The sneaky ones are always my favorite though, because at least they've got a bit of a zest to them. Like, 389 people fell for this. I kind of love it, but if you want an even better success story, over 80,000 people fell for this photo where it said that if you tap the photo, the leaves would fall off the tree. People even try to encourage randoms to add them on there through nursery rhyme style connection requests. If you're happy and you know it, click connect. Click, click! I think for the most part though, that collection of posts pretty much summarizes the LinkedIn experience. Or nightmare, if you will. But there is one more post that I want to go through with you guys. Not really because it adds any more to the conversation, but just because every time I read it, I feel like my brain is leaking, and I kind of want to use the comment section as a bit of a group discussion about it. I was chatting with Greg, a friend the other day, about how I love to break down words. One of my favorites is blame. The first 3 letters are blah, then you have me. This clearly defines that when you were in the blah 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 of blame, you've totally forgot about me, as in you. I'm already lost, for the record. So often that we forget there is 2 people in every relationship, and it is about us being responsible for our part, what you do, say, and how you react. Greg took it one further. He said that when you look at the word attitude and allocate a number to each word, as in A equals 1, T equals 20, E equals 5, etc., when you add up all the letters, it comes to 100. Your attitude relates to 100% of what is happening in every situation. Utilizing the same calculations to blame, it equals 33. Love it. Where would you like to be in your Beyond Lost journey? at 33% or 100%? Then change your attitude from blame to loving you. Oh, wait a sec. That's 115%. Perfecto. What the fuck does that mean? Anyone have any guesses to what we just read? It does feel very similar to those like grade 3 math questions where it would be like, Jeremy has 7 apples and Phoebe has a grape. But this is like Taylor Swift fan level theorizing, and there's not even an album to get out of doing this. So what exactly is the point? I thought the more I would read this, the more I'd get it, but I think this is just a visual representation of grasping at straws to make a point. I think that's enough of LinkedIn for me today, though. Possibly forever, honestly. But I think this answers my question I had going into this video, which was, has LinkedIn gotten any better? No, but hustle culture clearly hasn't either anyway. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video though. If you did, feel free to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. You can also turn my post notifications on if you want to be updated every time I upload, or you can find me outside of YouTube on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch, which are all caseyaonso. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.